Here we are at what used to be the Roxy Synagogue, who's once again will be a repertory theatre.
This week on the Gazebo Show, we'll be talking movies.
So welcome to another edition of the Gazebo Show, and we'll be talking about movies. So what do you think about movies? I've been a movie buff for a long, long time. I used to be able to recite every director and cinematographer and chronologically, remember every movie that everybody made. Mm-hmm. And now, unfortunately, my mind has turned to mush, and I can't remember a thing. So we'll see. We'll see what I can.
Yeah. Well, no, you have quite an encyclopedic knowledge of movies, similar to my knowledge of pop music.
The thing that interests me about movies, though, is the art of movies. Same reason I'm interested in books, writing, or painting, or music, or anything else. I'm interested in the art of filmmaking, mm-hmm. and the art of writing, and the art of painting. I'm not interested in commercial product mm-hmm. that's made for a market. So that for me is a key point. I'm into auteur directors, people that have an original vision, people that are making something different, something unpredictable.
Mm. So if a film has a commercial success, then you're not happy with it?
If it has a commercial success, it means that it's a formulaic movie.
Like The Godfather?
Yeah, that was a little bit outside of a formula. I think that would fall into the art category.
Yeah, but it was a commercial success. So it was a huge commercial success.
There are artists that have commercial successes.
Yeah, but I think it's a sliding scale between commercial films and the avant-garde. Say an Andy Warhol 9-hour movie that's just flickering lights and a couple of faces in the dark room.
Like, subscribe. There was a thing that happened in the 60s and 70s. There was a lot of auteur cinema, and there was a lot of really interesting movies and interesting directors, and they got to make the movies that they wanted, and they moved the art form forward in many ways. Mm-hmm. And then there was this, guy called McKee. And what they did was they took a 100-page screenplay and they broke it down and analyzed all the hit movies, all the most commercial movies, and then applied this formula. So on page 1, you introduce your protagonist, and on page 5, you introduce the outward goal of the protagonist. Mm-hmm. By page 12, you introduce the inner goal of the protagonist, blah, blah, blah. And so they had it down. McKee had it down to a 100-page screenplay, and every single page had a job to do.
Well, movies cost a hell of a lot of money, so I don't think any director goes into it hoping not to make money. Even the most artistic of visionary directors is hoping that he's going to get his budget back.
Of course, one of the problems with filmmaking is that it's so expensive. And you've basically got to wrangle 100 people, and you've got to have a dozen different funding sources. And each one of those funding sources has requirements. They want this, that, or the other thing. So you're constantly compromised, the whole process of filmmaking. Although in recent years things have changed a bit because the technology has become a lot more available. Mm-hmm. So you can shoot a movie for a fraction of what you used to be at. $2 million movie was super low budget. Now you can do it for a lot less if everybody's working for free and believes in the project, and you can shoot movies on an iPhone now. Well, I guess I'm not looking for entertainment. No. I guess I'm not concerned about entertainment. I want to be inspired. I want to be moved. I want to be taken into another world. I want to have a vicarious experience of another mind. That's what I'm looking for, and I want to see the art of filmmaking. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see a formula. As soon as I see the formula, I'm out.
But your life is an entertainment. Your lifestyle and so on. You never let the grass grow under you, and you always have a good time. Most people slog it out day in, day out in a job they don't bloody want, and they come home and want entertainment. It's a wind down. It's like that beer they drink. You can't fault them for that. If Netflix wasn't involved in the entertainment business, they wouldn't have the money to pay for their more esoteric projects. And I think that's the way the whole industry works. You know, Hollywood as an industry, I once heard that all the movies over a year makes on average a 4% return. That's ridiculous. The point of this statistic is that one movie might make 200% profit and the other one makes a loss. And overall, they balance out to about a 4% return on the industry, which is not a great return for investors.
Well, when you're making $100 million movies or $200 million movies, that's probably a significant amount of money. But I don't think 4% is accurate.
When I was doing my guerrilla work and we went to try and see if Gorillas in the Mist could be reissued, a new print, Arnie Glimcher, one of the producers, looked into it and told me, no, they've been charging trips to China off that movie for the last 20 years. It's never made a profit, never will.
Also, everybody involved in the movie makes a fortune. The director gets, a couple of $1 million, and the producers get a couple of $1 million. And that's in the budget. So that's not net. That's not profit. That's everybody getting paid, through the roof. The poor investors that put money into those movies, they're cheated out of the money.
Yeah, but getting back to the commercial angle, I mean, when Michael Crichton wrote the book and then Steven Spielberg made the movie of it, the industry was, clapping, happy, because the returns were coming in. Phenomenal returns. If those talents are applied to making money for the industry's happy. I mean...
Who cares about the industry?
Well,
I don't care about the industry.
Movies can't be made unless the movie industry is there.
Well, they have to be made outside of the industry, and that's what happened right now. Most movies are made outside of the Hollywood studio system. That's collapsing. It's almost disappeared.
Well, not if you include Netflix as a studio. No, then Netflix is embracing new studios across the world. They're bringing in content from all kinds of countries that we wouldn't normally watch.
And they're making a lot of content. Now, I've taken my hat off to Netflix. I think they do a good job of bringing in stuff that would never be made. I mean, these documentary series. I just watched a series called Wormwood by Errol Morris. He's probably the best documentary filmmaker in the world right now. He did an 8-part series, like 8 hours of this movie a documentary series called Wormwood. That could never have been made 20 years ago.
But did you educate yourself on the good movies and quality movies, or did someone tell you about them?
No, I educated by watching them.
So if you have a propensity to want to watch good movies, like really well-crafted movies, then you're going to find them. I used to love watching stop-frame animation. There were a couple of Czechoslovakian brothers who did the brothers Quay. They did amazing stuff with little screws and things falling apart and skeletons popping out of boxes, and I could watch that shit for hours.
The real auteurs of animation, the guys that do stop frame and the guys that, they're working on their own in a little studio for years. There was one Russian guy, it took him 25 years to make a film.
I did have a chance to go on to Disney and go on to the set of the animated film Tarzan. That was being done in cells, in rooms, and I saw that whole process.
Yeah.
So they had artists working on certain characters. So, they would have an artist who had a character, and he'd have the young Tarzan to work on, and they'd have lots of images. And they would draw these things and scan them and draw and scan and draw. And every movement every frame was hand drawn and then scanned. I do like going back and watching and seeing some of the old Alice in Wonderlands. They got quite macabre.
Yeah, well, there was some interesting animation. Was interesting. Now it's boring. Like Disney and Pixar to me are just boring.
Yeah, all right. Well, our viewers probably don't want to have us just dump on everything.
Why? I can't say what I think.
No, of course you can. But
of course we can.
But it's all. It's a broad church, the Gazebo Show. We at least appreciate other people's interests, don't we?
No, we don't. Not if they're wrong.
Who decides if they're wrong?
Me. Like.
Subscribe.
And that gets back to the auteur idea of filmmaking, is that it's one person's vision. They have editorial control. They're not constrained by people telling them what they can do or what actors they can use or what they've got to have happen in the third act.
I think if there's one word that differentiates the formulaic movies from the good ones, it's auteur. And those great filmmakers of our generation, if you go looking up their stuff, most of it's great. The Coen brothers, Tarantino, Kubrick, Fellini,
Coppola, Scorsese.
Oh, so many.
But they're all auteur directors.
Woody Allen.
They all have editorial control over everything they do, and that's why this stuff sticks out, and that's why it's kind of personalized to them.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else can make a Woody Allen movie.
No.
They look unique. They are unique. The writing is unique because he's a unique writer.
Mm. So go out and find the auteurs, kids, because that's where the magic is.
That's right. And check out the history of film too. If you look at the French New Wave, look at the German New Wave, and you'll find stuff, there's stuff in there that got kind of left behind. Mm-hmm. And some of those movies now, like I've been rewatching a lot of the movies from England from the late 50s and early 60s, and they were called, or kitchen sink dramas was another name for them.
Look Back in Anger. And,
Look Back in Anger, Saturday Night, Sunday Morning, mm-hmm. Poor Cow. Yeah. I just watched The Sporting Life.
Oh, yeah.
Incredible movie. Absolutely devastating performances, the height of true drama. Yeah. It's absolutely riveting.
Made with a budget of £3, £6.
Yeah, but made by artists and actors that believed in what they were doing.
Absolutely.
And these movies are lost now. I think they should bring some back. I wish there was a channel. If there was a streaming channel that showed, auteur cinema and international cinema, I would sign up. But there really isn't one.
Well, Mubi has a lot of alternative cinema, but it's mostly documentaries. Whereas this one that I mentioned earlier,
which one is that?
As I say, I can't remember the name. I'll put the name up right here above it once I go look it up.
Right here.
Yeah, right here.
Okay, so what's one of the best movies you've seen in the last couple of months?
Oh, last couple of months?
Or last several months or whatever.
Leroy, Texas really impressed me. Absolutely no predicting where it was going. There was nothing formulaic about the script. Great performances. I didn't recognize many of the actors in it. It was
an American movie?
Yeah, American movie. Really rich in story and character, and it was a thriller, which made it even better because you didn't know what was happening around the next corner. But my God, did it have some really good performances. And just to finish up, because there's another movie I just saw last week that really impressed me, called Ghostlight.
Oh yeah,
fantastic. Low budget. I don't think it's much more than 80 minutes, 90 minutes. But fantastic story, just full of pathos. It's basically about, a guy is a blue-collar worker, he's a street worker, and it's slowly revealed through the movie that he's grieving over the death of a child. And the way they handle it is fantastic. The pulling back and forth, his inability at first to actually express any kind of emotion about it, and that gets drawn out because he joins a theater group, which is the most unlikely place where a blue-collar, street jackhammer guy is going to wander in. Yeah. But it's because he wanders in and it intrigues him, and he joins this theater group, and they put on a performance of Romeo and Juliet, and it's fantastic. This movie is fantastic. I highly recommend
definitely
it.
Check that out. One of the trends that's happening with the streaming services is the mini series or the limited series.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff, again, it's stuff that could never have been made 20 years ago. And now you get these prolonged stories by auteur directors that are just fantastic. One of them is Landscapers,
right,
by a director called Will Sharp. Will Sharp, I think, is one of the best directors working today. He did a series called Flowers, I think for Netflix or HBO. And then he did The Electrical Life of Louis Swain with Benedict Bumpersnatch.
Yeah.
And then he did this series called Landscapers. It's with Olivia Colman and David Thewlis. And it's just fantastic. It's so creative and it's so brilliant. So definitely see that one. And the other one was one that we both watched and enjoyed lately, which was the Feud.
Feud.
Second series of Feud.
Really?
It's called The Swans.
Yeah.
And it's Truman Capote in the crumbling New York aristocracy. And it's absolutely brilliant and riveting. So that's something you should check out.
Yeah, and another example of brilliant script, brilliant acting, and brilliant production design. I think those three, if you find them in anything, it's going to be good. Directed
by Gus Van Sant, who was an auteur director from the 80s. and used to do like lots of kind of gritty street level kind of gay movies.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's graduated to become a master filmmaker. So I was amazed that it was him that made this movie. But it's just beautifully directed and shot and acted. Well worth a watch. So that's it for another episode of the Gazebo Show.
Yep.
Don't forget to tune in next time when we'll be discussing philosophy.
Philosophy next week. Make sure you tune in. It's the season finale.
Like.
And subscribe.
And it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from him.
Don't